It may be the end of House Speaker Kevin McCarthy, and that has rank-and-file Republicans pretty furious. So on Monday, Florida Republican Matt Gaetz filed a motion to vacate McCarthy from his position as Speaker of the House, and according to reports, Gaetz appears to have secured on Tuesday the support of the necessary 5 Republicans needed to eject McCarthy from that position. So, as of right now, Democrats, they're not going to save him. No. Already, the Democratic caucus in the House is unanimously united in vacating McCarthy. So this is going to be very, very interesting. And they're making sure not to allow a vote to be delayed. So, oops. Now, for these Republicans that are voting to get rid of McCarthy, well, they're going to get their wish, very likely. But for the other 200 plus Republicans in the House, they're not exactly happy with this. I want to give you some quotes. Representative Marc Molinaro of New York has characterized Gaetz' coup as, quote, some sort of weird pseudo-psycho political fetish that needs to come to an end. Wow. It just makes me think of that song Psychosocial for some reason. I don't know why. Representative Nicole Malliotakis, also a Republican from New York, said this motion to vacate vote will separate those who are here to govern from those who are here to play charades. Charades, interesting. This kind of feels more like a game of Sorry than charades, but okay, sure. Representative Jason Smith had told Fox News host Neil Cavuto on Monday, quote, it's a waste of time. Okay. Dan Crenshaw had this to say, quote, we have a senile, unpopular Democrat president in the White House. Voters are rightfully pointing to Democrats as responsible for an unprecedented border crisis, persistent inflation, and rampant crime in every major city in America. But instead of pointing out these failures and presenting a united front to address real problems facing our country, Republicans are about to spend another week, maybe more, pointlessly fighting with each other. This is stupid. Stupid. Look, aside from the fact that most of what he said is either not true or a mischaracterization, misrepresentation of just objective reality, he is right about one thing. Republicans are acting very stupid, which is actually pretty characteristic of them. Now, Marjorie Greene also laid into Matt Gaetz. Marjorie Greene, of course, being a staunch ally of McCarthy. She said that he has no plan. Quote, there's no one that has stepped forward to run. There's no one that is coming out there and saying, I'll be speaker and rallying support within the conference. Now, look, you don't have to be a member of Congress or a member of the House to be the speaker. Yes, generally, it has been traditionally. We all know how Republicans feel about tradition, which is why, thankfully, nobody has floated Trump. Because I shouldn't give them ideas, but that would be kind of hilarious because of how much of a train wreck it would be. I wonder, though, if someone under federal indictment for multiple alleged crimes could even be Speaker of the House. Don't know. Don't know. It's just something that it seems like one of these chuckleheads would float. But maybe they have. I don't know. Now, one more here. This is a comment from Representative Thomas Massie, who, by the way, has been a pretty harsh critic of GOP leadership over the years. So have I. One thing we apparently have in common. So he has come out against the attempt to oust McCarthy, saying, quote, from my perspective, the House has been functioning better, more transparently, and more conservatively with Speaker McCarthy than it did with Speaker Boehner or Speaker Ryan. We have issues, but replacing Speaker McCarthy won't magically fix them. In fact, it could get worse. And it's kind of hard to believe that it could get worse. Hard to imagine, considering how this may be the most unproductive Congress we've had in decades, at least the last 50 years. As of the end of September, there have been about 14 bills and resolutions that have become law since the start of this Congress in January, prior to the stopgap measure to keep the government open. Okay, that's low. That's very low. In fact, since 1973, there was an average of about 70 bills or resolutions that have been enacted through roughly that point in Congress up until the end of September, in which the House and presidency are controlled by different parties. So even in places, or even at times where you had divided government, they still managed to get at least 70 bills passed. Wow. Whereas 14, not good. Again, the lowest point in 50 years. But Massey looks at it and says, oh no, this is great. We're functioning so incredibly well. Look, hey, I guess if the purpose here is to not get anything done, nailed it. Congratulations. Well done. So then if that's the case, why are Republicans mad at Gaetz then for disrupting the process? Well, because what they want is to present a united front in order to force Democrats into giving things up. That's what this entire funding the government, debt ceiling, etc., government shutdown stuff, that's what these fights have all been about. Just to force Democrats into giving up concessions so that they'll fund the government. So Mitch McConnell started this in the Senate, essentially holding up government, being hostage takers in order to say, we're going to cut spending. Now, look, Republicans do want to fund the government, believe it or not, because if there is a government shutdown, well, they lose. They lose politically, and of course, they take hits if the stock market tanks. And so they do have a vested interest in funding these programs, especially since money that goes, to the defense contractors, they generally like it when they continue to fund things like the Pentagon. Although, I guess in recent years, especially this Congress, that's been a little iffy. They haven't been able to really get that done all that much. But look, a lot of them want to go through the political theater of getting Democrats to fold on programs meant to help working people. And Democrats have historically made those compromises in order to help prevent a shutdown, which, as I mentioned, does actually hurt Republicans in the long run because the stock market and, of course, people will see the government is shut down and that Republicans are to blame and think, wow, these guys are idiots. Why would I vote for them? So understand that that's kind of why they're angry at Matt Gaetz, because, he's forcing them to the situation where it's like, idiots, we're not going to be able to win on this one. Okay, we're just not going to be able to have enough leverage here because you still have Democrats that run the Senate and have the White House. We're not going to get everything that we want. Yeah, we're probably going to get some things, but we're not going to get everything. We're in a disadvantageous political position, so we got to do something. But Matt Gaetz, understand what Matt Gaetz is doing. He is using this as a stunt to raise his national profile. Of course. But I think it's obviously going to backfire on him, because once McCarthy is gone, if that happens, to happen, then there's going to be chaos. Remember, it was chaos to try to get McCarthy into this position in the first place. To have him removed without a potential replacement, even more chaos. And so, not going to look good for them. And ironically, Democrats come out in an even stronger political position because they're unified in this, even if it is unity to defeat McCarthy. Well, once again, elect a clown, or many clowns, get a circus.